Zapinette Goes to the North Pole, a novel by Russo. Chapter 1. This is our second trip on a cruise ship. The details about them megaboats are in my novel Zappy Zen, but this time our flight from Paris to Amsterdam was quite short, so no complaints like when we flew from France to China. What a pain in the tushy that was. And the smells, phew! This was an even bigger ship, but I didn't mind it, since there are a few decks where you don't even meet a fly, and I've learned to get around it pronto presto, which is not the case of my uncle. He still gets lost, and I still have to walk through many corridors and different floors to find out where the hell he has strayed. Stray dogs, by the way, have an excellent sense of direction, like myself. If you ever even insinuate that I am a bitch, I'll bash your head so hard that you wouldn't recognize yourself in front of the mirror. I have telepathic intuition concerning you people, remember? And if you go astray in your thoughts, you'll be in a pathetic situation, so behave. This, new readers, ought to be aware of if they don't want to get into harm's way. What do you think? I'm your teacher, your mentoress? No, I'm a missus of letters, not love letters, you nerd. Literature. Oh, so I'm not good enough for some of you? Go back to school and read Salinger. The difference between his hero and my heroine, not the stuff you sniff, nincompoop, is that his little boy is always hurt and full of internal rage, while my young missus, who, by the way, is a felinist, like her hairdresser of a mother in Paris, boxes people's ears, and some other parts too anatomically incorrect to describe here. Okay, kind new readers, I'll go over the autobiographical shenanigans very briefly, just as a welcome bonus. I am Zapinette. My mom and I are part Italian, part American, and part French, and part of every religion under the sun. My mamzer of an American father left us for the Amazon, where he can share the Indians' naked wives, pervert, while I have a wonderful little brother named Peter. And first, but not least, my uncle Alberico, a.k.a. Unky Berky, a.k.a. Bonka, when he gets on my blooming nerves, which he often does, is my favorite adult companion. No, he's not a pedophile. I would kick anyone in the right place if he ever tried to make disgusting advances. Actually, Unky Berky is a very sensitive man. A little too much, but you can't have everything, is what he taught me. So that most of the times, I'm the one to make decisions. The sail to Bergen was very smooth, and we took advantage of this floating palace, because with its 7 floors, its 7 odd eateries, some 24/7, 4-star dining room with a view outside. Here I had to put my foot down on the parquet floor to get a table next to the porthole, giving the sweetest and most Marilyn Monroe-ish smile to the maitre d', which locked my jaws for 10 blooming minutes and hurt my temples on account of that it's not something that comes naturally to me. Plush tea room, casino, not for us, too noisy with too many weirdos. Library come guest computers, seawater swimming pools, and nightclubs, too dark for me. And what's more, my uncle might be picked up by the wrong person of any of the 3 sexes. And here too, we had our private room service and valet. This time, he was a very cute Irish redhead named Dylan. Yeah, like the handsome actor Matt Dillon, who is also a hunk, only our Dylan. It was his first, not his last name. Looked more like one of them tall and slim princes of yore, with hair that gives out copper flashes whenever he moved or stood under the slightest ray of light. Yeah, he also had delicious cinnamon-colored freckles, unlike some people who seem to have skin like a medieval parchment full of stains, many of them resembling crushed flies. But what gave me goose pimples, apart from his delicate features and his aristocratic demeanor, was his accent, especially when he began rolling his R's, which just made me melt, leaving me dumb and founded. In other words, I just stared at him like one of them stupid dolls with huge eyelashes. I needed half a minute before I told my heart to shut the hell up and to stop beating like it was my last hour on earth. Remember that I can use Shakespeare's words when the situation requires it. I owe this to my uncle, because he forces me to read highfalutin books and Michelin tourist guides, the hardcover types with far too much history and all, not the ones for backpackers, before every trip we take. That's called a friggin' concession if I want to see the world and become a globe-trotteress. As you ought to already know, we've crossed more than half the planet by plane, by boat, by junk. Not the McDonald's type ignoramus. Them sailing crafts the Chinese invented 3,000 years or more ago. By train, by bus, occasionally using bicycles or even taxis when my stingy Unky Berky has no other choice, and so fork and ding dong. In return for these concessions, the second day of every trip, I could do almost anything I wish, like swimming in the sea when we were at the beach, or in the pool, as in this case. Take my time fooling around or buying some pretty custom jewels from the ship's stalls. I'm allowed to spend no more than $10 a day. Use the pinball machines, eat my favorite ice cream, or even jump into a jacuzzi. Whoa, I love them bubbles that run all over your body and tickle you to death. I hate that word, but if I ever should die, that would be the nicest way. Actually, it would be quasark impossible to drown in a jacuzzi. That's like a fish drowning in its own element. Do you know where it's impossible to drown? In the Dead Sea, on account that there is so much salt in it that if you even try to commit suicide, whether you like it or not, you immediately bounce back onto the surface like a friggin' cork. Some of them are as fat as the Michelin Babaluba. Oh my, I forgot. If you stay too long there, you can die of salty insulation and roast like a crunchy piglet. So good and so unkosher. Go read my book, Holy Land Zapinette, and you'll feel less stupid, because that's where all the caboodle of religious hatred started. But the country is kind of nifty, and there's lots of things to see and have fun with. But this is not the subject of this here story. So, stop having me digress with your insinuations. It can be very stressing. Coming back to Cutie Pie Dylan, our cabin valet. Thank goddess. This time I have no rival. Let me explain. My uncle is only attracted to pretty boys who are darker than him. No, they ain't ever minors. He is no pedophile. They must be over 21, preferably 25, but not over 35. He once opened up to me about his intimate and unsexual fantasies. He does nothing untoward. He just acts platoniciously, meaning no touchy-touchy, just looky-looky, and probably dreamy-dream. Like that old Dirky Bogard in that Methuselah-ish movie, Death in Venice, who doesn't stop staring at that young blondie at the beach, with the difference that there, he was a pedophile, because the boy was a teenager. Geez, was that film ever deadly boring? Every once in a while, okay. Once a year, that too is too much. My uncle forces us to watch it, and he always ends up crying. Remember Zapparoni? He makes it rhyme with macaroni, the nincompoop. Those wonderful days we spent at the Lido. You loved swimming there. The strange thing about it is that we're almost in the third decade of the 21st century, and my uncle is still referring to them days of yore, yo. In a way, it's better for me, because he won't ever catch any of them setchual diseases that decimate, highfalutin for kill, millions of people, especially in the developing countries where his loneliness, the Pope, who knows nothing about sexuality, did he ever get married? Warns all and sundry, especially on Sundays, that if they use condoms, they'll fly to hell faster than with the space rocket which landed on Mars. Wow, I'd love to have a foothold on the resort which Sir Richard Branson, he became a lord on account that he swindled millions of passengers on his low-cost Virgin airline. No chips, no sandwiches, no beverage, and soon enough you'll have to pay to go to one of the plane's potty rooms, the same way you pay extra for your luggage, has promised to build a resort beach under a huge glass dome for my tender generation of travelers. That too will be low cost. I hope that our food will at least be included. I pray Goddess that Unky Berky will also have the opportunity to live to experience the kind of adventure with me. But I fear by then he will reach the age where many gagagenarians get old-timer's disease and confuse me with his great-grandmother or even with the cat he had when he was a little boy. With that kind of illness, you're never sure whether raving fiction gets more real than reality. If that ever happens, I'll refuse to change his nappies. Yuck, yuck. I will never become his nurse, whatever happens, uncle or no uncle. We'll have to hire one from health service, which is so generous in France, even though it's full of holes. In deficit, dummy. That's the term the Monastery of Finance uses every second week on the TV's prime time. It's another way of telling us to stop going to the doctor for such nanities as tickles in your backside, and to ask for medicine and special expensive creams all paid for by the government. And you wonder why we have among the highest taxes in the European Union? Now, you will ask, why on earth my uncle, the voyeur, wasn't interested by charming Dylan? Well, because the latter is as fair as Uncle Berky, even a little lighter skinned, and also because he has freckles. No, he isn't disgusted. He's just dead scared in hindsight. This has nothing to do with your behind. Ever since the doctor told him that he could easily get skin cancer if he doesn't cover himself with the highest protection lotion against UV rays. Clever Cookie, the guy who invented the Ray-Ban name and logo for sunglasses. Dylan reminded him of when he was younger, on account that Uncle Berky was also a pretty boy some eons ago. I can vouch for that, because I saw pictures of him when he was little, then a young man, and finally when he held me in his arms, daddy-wise. The colored pictures of yore are kind of faded, so that he looks like his face was sprinkled with dried stains of that yellowish, wobbly English custard cream. When I think about it, he could very well have been mistaken for some old relative of Dylan. I hope that our cutie valet didn't go into the sea all bandaged up like an Egyptian mummy the way my uncle appears at the beach. I have to ask him very delicately whether he wears Bermudas or a flimsy swimsuit with its belt just below his belly button. The latter would suit him better, because I do find him kind of sexy, especially when his cheeks get all peachy when I ask a favor that's a little far and outstretched, knowing full well that he will excuse himself, answering, "I'm afraid that they don't carry this item on board, miss." I love it when he calls me miss, as if I were a grown-up.